Everyone talks about the Maldives like every resort is paradise. The photos are perfect, the prices are enormous, and the expectations are sky high. But thousands of real guests have arrived, unpacked, and quietly wondered where all that money actually went. Today, we are counting down the 7 most overrated resorts in the Maldives for 2026. Stay until the end because number 1 is going to genuinely surprise you. Starting at number 7, Kurumba, Maldives. Kurumba holds the distinction of being the very first resort ever to open in the Maldives, and for decades, that historic legacy has done an enormous amount of work attracting guests who associate the original Maldives resort with a premium and deeply memorable island experience. But the honest reality, based on recent guest feedback, is that Kurumba is increasingly living on its historical reputation, rather than on a current product that genuinely justifies the rates it charges in today's incredibly competitive Maldives resort market. The rooms and villas receive consistently mixed feedback from recent visitors, with guests noting that the design and finish quality feel noticeably behind the standard of newer and more recently renovated properties across the Maldives, and that the accommodation does not deliver the sense of luxury and thoughtful detail that the pricing naturally implies. The food and beverage experience draws particular criticism from guests who feel the dining quality and variety fall short of what comparable Maldives resorts at similar price points are currently offering, making mealtimes feel more like an obligation than one of the highlights of the stay. Service is described as warm but inconsistent, with attentiveness varying significantly depending on the area of the resort and the time of day. Kurumba, Maldives is a piece of living history that deserves genuine respect, but history alone is no longer a sufficient reason to pay the rates this resort currently commands. At number 6, Bandos, Maldives. Bandos is one of the most frequently recommended budget-friendly Maldives resorts on the internet, and its proximity to Male Airport and its long-standing name recognition continue to drive a steady stream of bookings from travelers who expect a reliable and enjoyable overwater experience at an accessible price. But the pattern of recent guest reviews reveals a property that is struggling to maintain even the modest standard that its positioning and pricing imply, with a growing number of visitors leaving genuinely disappointed by the condition of the facilities, the quality of the food, and an overall resort atmosphere that feels tired and in need of significant reinvestment. The water bungalows, while genuinely positioned over the lagoon, are described by many recent guests as outdated and poorly maintained, with aging fixtures, worn furnishings, and cleanliness standards that fall short of what any overwater accommodation, regardless of price, should comfortably meet. The food receives consistently poor marks, with the buffet and dining options drawing criticism for limited variety, below-average preparation quality, and a dining experience that feels more like a budget guest house than a Maldives resort. The house reef remains a genuine positive that guests consistently praise, but a good reef alone cannot compensate for a room product and a dining experience that both underperform. Bandos needs serious renovation and a meaningful uplift in food quality before it can honestly claim to deserve the bookings its name and location continue to generate. At number 5, Adaaran Select Hudhuranfushi. Adaaran Select Hudhuranfushi is a resort that markets itself as a premium and comprehensive Maldives experience in the North Male Atoll, appealing to travelers who want the full overwater villa setup combined with a solid range of resort facilities and activities at a price point that positions the property somewhere between budget and luxury in the Maldives market. But the reality that recent guests consistently describe is a resort where almost every key department delivers a noticeably below expectation experience, leaving visitors who arrived with perfectly reasonable hopes feeling let down by a property that promises more than it can currently deliver. The overwater villas receive mixed to negative feedback from a growing number of guests, described as dated in their design and not maintained to the standard that paying for an overwater villa in the Maldives should guarantee, with worn furnishings, aging bathroom fixtures, and air conditioning performance that multiple guests say was inadequate during the hottest parts of the day. The food is one of the most consistently criticized aspects of the Adaaran Select Hudhuranfushi experience, with the buffet described as offering limited variety and below-average quality that makes mealtimes feel repetitive and uninspiring across even a short stay. Service receives mixed feedback throughout the property, with some staff members earning genuine praise, while others are described as disengaged and slow to respond to basic guest requests. Adaaran Select Hudhuranfushi is a resort that needs comprehensive renovation and a serious recommitment to food and service quality before it can justify its current positioning and pricing. At number 4, Meeru, Maldives Resort Island. Meeru Maldives Resort Island is one of the largest resorts in the entire Maldives and uses its sheer scale and the breadth of its facilities list to attract guests who want a wide range of activities and amenities alongside their overwater villa experience. But size is a double-edged sword in the Maldives market, and the honest picture that emerges from recent guest feedback is of a resort where the enormous scale has become a liability rather than an asset, creating an environment that feels more like a busy holiday camp than the intimate and peaceful island escape that the Maldives is supposed to represent. The overwater bungalows draw consistent criticism from recent visitors, described as outdated and in need of renovation, with design elements and furnishing quality that belong to an earlier era of the property's history, rather than reflecting the current standard of overwater accommodation that guests booking a Maldives villa in 2026 will naturally expect. The food receives poor marks across the resort's dining options, with the buffet described by multiple guests as one of the weakest aspects of the stay, offering limited variety, inconsistent quality, and a dining atmosphere that lacks the warmth and charm that should characterize mealtimes at any Maldives resort, regardless of its size or price point. The beach and lagoon settings are genuinely beautiful and represent the resort's most consistent area of praise, but natural beauty alone is not sufficient justification for the rates Meeru currently charges. Meeru Maldives needs a comprehensive product overhaul before it can honestly compete with the growing number of better value options available in the same price bracket. If any of these resorts are on your booking list, please check the links below right now. There are far better options available in the Maldives at similar or only slightly higher prices that will give you the island experience you actually deserve. At number 3, Sheraton Maldives, Full Moon Resort and Spa. The Sheraton name carries significant global brand weight, and travelers who book the Full Moon Resort and Spa do so with the confidence that one of the world's most recognized hotel brands will deliver at least a consistently polished and enjoyable Maldives experience. But the honest reality, based on recent guest reviews, is a resort where the Marriott brand promise is not being reliably met, and where the gap between what the Sheraton name implies and what this specific property actually delivers has grown wide enough to earn it a clear spot on this list. The overwater villas draw consistent criticism from recent guests, described as dated and in need of the kind of renovation investment that a property bearing the Sheraton name should have already committed to completing, with furnishings and bathroom finishes that feel out of step with the current standard of comparable Maldives overwater villa experiences at similar price points. The food and dining experience is another area where the resort frequently disappoints, with guests noting that both the quality and the variety fall below what the brand's global positioning and the property's all-inclusive rates would naturally lead guests to expect. Service quality is inconsistent throughout the resort, and the overall atmosphere lacks the intimacy and genuine island warmth that defines the best Maldives experiences. Sheraton Maldives Full Moon Resort is a property that urgently needs renovation and a renewed commitment to the service standards its brand name demands. At number 2, Cinnamon Velifushi Maldives. Cinnamon Velifushi Maldives is a resort that positions itself as a premium overwater villa destination in the Vaavu Atoll, appealing to travelers who want a more remote and naturally untouched Maldives experience away from the busier and more heavily developed North and South Male Atolls. The remote location requires a domestic flight followed by a speedboat transfer, adding meaningful cost and travel time to the overall experience, and the honest question that recent guest reviews raise very clearly is whether the resort itself justifies that additional investment of time and money given the product it currently delivers. The overwater villas receive consistently mixed feedback, described by many recent guests as feeling significantly less impressive and less well-maintained than the promotional imagery and the overall premium positioning of the resort suggest, with design elements that have not been updated to reflect the current standard of luxury that a remote overwater villa experience at this price should comfortably guarantee. The dining experience draws particularly pointed criticism from guests who feel that the food quality, variety, and overall standard of the restaurant service fall well short of what a remote resort, charging a significant premium over more accessible properties, should be delivering to guests who have made a considerable travel and financial commitment to reach it. The natural setting of Vaavu Atoll is genuinely stunning and remains a consistent source of genuine guest praise, but a breathtaking natural environment cannot indefinitely compensate for a villa product and a dining experience that both consistently underperform relative to the price being charged. And finally, at number 1, the most overrated resort in the Maldives right now, Conrad Maldives Rangali Island. Before the comments erupt, we want to be completely honest. Conrad Rangali is not a bad resort. For some guests, it absolutely delivers a genuinely extraordinary and deeply memorable luxury experience in one of the most visually breathtaking natural settings in the entire Maldives. But when a resort charges rates that regularly exceed $3,000 per night, markets itself as one of the most iconic luxury destinations in the world, and carries the full weight of the Conrad by Hilton brand behind every booking, the standard it must meet is not merely excellent, but consistently and uncompromisingly flawless at every single touchpoint. And the growing pattern of guest feedback from 2024 and 2025 suggests that Conrad Rangali is not meeting that standard with the reliability that its extraordinary pricing absolutely demands. The service, which should be the defining and non-negotiable strength of any resort at this price point, receives surprisingly variable feedback in recent reviews, with guests reporting inconsistency in the attentiveness and personalization of the butler and front-of-house teams that simply should not exist at $3,000 a night. The food across multiple restaurants draws criticism from guests who feel the culinary experience does not consistently match the rates being charged, particularly when comparable ultra-luxury Maldives properties are delivering a dining experience that feels genuinely world-class rather than merely good. Room maintenance issues appear in enough recent reviews to be a genuine concern at this price point, and the overall sense from reading the current feedback landscape is of a resort where the gap between the iconic status it has built over years of being named the world's best hotel and the reality of what guests are currently experiencing on the ground has grown meaningfully wider than it should ever be allowed to get. Conrad Maldives Rangali Island remains one of the most visually stunning and architecturally extraordinary resort experiences anywhere on the planet, and the underwater restaurant alone is a genuinely once-in-a-lifetime experience. But at the rates it charges and with the global reputation it carries, anything less than absolute and consistent perfection is a form of overrating, and right now Conrad Rangali is not delivering that consistency reliably enough to avoid the top spot on this list. That is all for now. If your resort is on this list, please check the links below right away because there are genuinely outstanding options in the Maldives that will give you the island paradise experience you are actually paying for. We put a lot of heart into every video so you can spend your money on the right resort and your time on memories that actually matter. If that is the kind of travel advice you want more of, subscribing takes 1 second and means you will never research a vacation alone again. Tell us in the comments, have you stayed at any of these resorts? And did your experience match what we described? We read every single comment. Thanks so much for watching.